Courtney, appreciate you getting up early on your day off and making some time for us. You got a chance to catch up with Scotty Thurman a couple days ago, former Razorback, and him and Grant Hill going at it a little bit on social media, which I found intriguing. Does there still seem to be some bad blood between those two individuals based on what happened in 1994?
Oh, for sure. I'm going to 100% shut down and say for sure there definitely is. I just thought it was funny that a few days after the interview, we obviously did that interview before the Duke game and after the Gonzaga game. And I just thought it was funny that, we post out on Twitter to tease the interview that night, kind of me saying, hey, it seems like, Grant Hill a little bit bitter about the shot still, a little bit bitter about that. And Scotty, obviously, answering jokingly, hey, yeah, I think so too, with the way he called the Gonzaga game. I just thought it was so funny that days later, our Twitter is blowing up again with the Scotty Thurman interview. And I'm going, what? Why is this interview blowing up? This was before the game. Like, what's going on here? Am I missing something? What is Arkansas Twitter? I'm missing something here. I realize that Grant Hill, I see that reply where Grant's saying, whoa, bitter. What are we talking about here? And they go back and forth on Twitter. And I had a few people say, hey, are you trying to stir the pot here? No, I just thought it was funny. It was just a funny situation. And man, there's definitely some bad blood. Grant Hill says, I'm not bitter anymore. I was just calling the game like I was calling the game. Well, why are you tweeting about it 2 days later? Why did you feel the need to comment? You could have just ignored it. But no, you had to bring it up, a few days after the interview. That to me, you're a little bitter, right?
Yeah, you even had Samuel Jackson questioning if the commentators were for Gonzaga during the course of the Arkansas game, which I know a lot of Razorback fans latched onto. But this is Courtney, you moved here, 2 months ago? And I remember having a conversation with you prior to your first Razorback basketball game at Bud Walton, and not to belittle your Florida Gators, but it's not, and I know that you guys have won 2 national championships, but it's just not the same when you transition from Gainesville to here. What have you noticed about specifically Razorback basketball fans that has stood out to you during the course of this season since you've been here?
I just feel like, and I've told people this before, anyone who's asked, and you can definitely belittle the Florida Gators. I'll be the first one to say it, especially when you meet the fans in Arkansas. You can. I'm sorry, you just can. And the reason being is because in Florida, you've got fans from all over, right? You have multiple universities there, Florida, FSU, I have to say it now, UCF, Miami. You've got fans from all of these different, fan bases. But in Arkansas, it's just the Razorbacks. You don't meet fans from other schools here. It's just, it's the Razorbacks. And they're truly treated like a pro team, having no professional teams here in the state. So I think that's the most unique thing about it here, is that the fan base is just so passionate about the Hogs. And you won't find that genuinely. You will not find that anyplace else. I mean, look at this Grant Hill, Scotty Thurman Twitter argument. I mean, Grant Hill definitely got ratioed. Let's be honest here. He got ratioed. And that's because of Arkansas fans coming to bat for Scotty. And I thought that was just so awesome how much passion they have. It doesn't matter when you try and come for them. They will stand up for their own. And that is awesome. I've noticed that so much here, and especially with basketball fans. I mean, Bud Walton, we talk about it all season long, how great the atmosphere is, and the players have thanked the fans for making it that way. But when I walked in Bud Walton, I've never gotten this in any sporting venue. I got chills, and it was seriously that moment. Everyone talks about that one sports moment where chills. I mean, I got that walking in Bud Walton Arena. There was just nothing like it. Genuinely nothing like it.
Courtney, this is Tommy. First, welcome to Arkansas, and thanks for joining us. And secondly, if you're worried about not having enough heat and humidity coming from Florida, we'll have plenty for you this summer. So don't we got weather you can wear just like you do in Florida right here. So
Oh, perfect.
I always find this interesting. Someone coming from out of state to do this job in state or just moving, maybe it's not in the media somewhere else. What was your first reaction? And you got some good ones this year at Bud Walton. What was the first thing that went through your mind when you heard your first 19,000 plus hog call?
Well, there's nothing like it for sure. It's definitely the most recognizable chant in all of college sports. That's just awesome. And you think at first when they do a hog call, I always thought, I guess when I saw it on TV, it looked kind of weird. I was like, oh, that looks kind of weird. But when you see it in person, you're like, whoa, no, I get it now, though. This is awesome. This is great. I love it. You learn it real quick. Everybody does it everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's in a sporting venue. You go on Dixon Street, you go in, random Tuesday in a Subway and people are doing it. I love it. That's passion right there that I just talked about in the Hog fan base. But there was nothing like it when you saw 19,000 fans doing it. And it's loud. Man. Yeah. It is loud. You don't notice that. I can't wait for football season now, or even baseball. I want to hear it again and again and again and again. You just can't get enough of that.
One of the big questions about next year's basketball team is J.D. Note and his future. Any thoughts from you, just being around the team for a little while, and what do you think the future is for Note?
I think J.D. Note, a great player. I think, he obviously could go and pursue a career in the league, but seeing what we did from him this season, there were still some mistakes made out on the court with the Razorbacks. We saw that. There was some quick decision-making, things like that I just felt like he could benefit from coming back to this team another year. Now, we don't know what Muss has in store for next year. We don't know the conversation he's having with guys. I mean, I also watched the McDonald's All-American game, and man, oh man, the talent that he's bringing in is seriously awesome. I mean, Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black, and Jordan Walsh, all those guys are going to come in and make a contribution. I think Nick Smith and Anthony Black could even start. I know that sounds crazy as freshmen, but man, they're raw talent and they're good. So it just depends how JD fits into that system. I think he could benefit from coming back another year and playing with these guys. Now, whether or not he will, it could be more beneficial to go pursue his future. But to raise, kind of his stock in the league and everything, I think he probably should really consider coming back and spending another year and working with Musselman, who really can develop players into great NBA talent. And with his experience in the league, I just feel like he just can't, that experience you just can't turn away from.
I do wonder if he decided and Musselman decided it'd be better for him to come back, what type of role he would have. Maybe it would be 2 years ago where he's more the defensive guy and still playing. We'll have to wait and see on that. Courtney, you did reference the McDonald's All-American game last night where Nick Smith Jr., Jordan Walsh, and Anthony Black were all playing. There's also a lot of other talented players, and we were talking with Kevin McPherson over earlier. He told us that he got a text from an NBA scout that Nick was standing out the most. If you had to pick one guy between Nick, Jordan, and Anthony, who do you think is if you put him above the rest? You think Nick's that for sure starter this next year?
I would say Nick just because of his pure talent. I mean, he was out there last night balling like an NBA player. I mean, there were people on Twitter, and Kevin probably said this as well, but there were people on Twitter, the announcers were saying that this is a guy that could go to the league. I mean, he really is just that talented. So he, to me, stands out. But I got to give some credit to Anthony Black, and here's why. Just because he may not have had a bunch of stats last night, a bunch of points. He may not have been, looking like he's the guy, but man, one thing that we talk about with this Arkansas team is that they really didn't have a true point guard. They really didn't. J.D. Note, worked that position and did his best doing that for them, but they really didn't have a true point guard. Anthony Black, I think, could play as a point guard, and that's just because of, I know, he's played a lot of positions as well, but he was making plays when it came to the West team. I mean, he was feeding other guys. He was seeing the court just so well. And I thought, that's a guy that can come in and make an impact straight away for this team. I think that we possibly see both Nick Smith and Anthony Black starting for the Hogs next year. And if not, I think you can make a case for why both of those guys should be.
Courtney, before we go, let's talk about spring football and Sam Pittman's team, who's looking to replace Traylon Burks at wide receiver. You got a veteran quarterback and KJ Jefferson back. What's been some of your early takes, new on the job here, about Sam Pittman and where this team is coming back from a 9-4 season?
Yeah, I think it looks really good. I think the future of Hog football looks really bright, and that's great to say when you have success of all your other programs. I mean, it's a great time to come cover the Razorbacks, right? Just my I haven't seen all of their practices for spring this year. Yesterday, we got kind of a look as they came back for spring football, and the media was invited, of course, and so I was actually kind of intrigued. Just like all the fans are, Malik Hornsby, getting those reps at wide receiver in practice yesterday. I think I agree with Sam Pittman entirely that he's just too fast to keep him on the bench, behind KJ Jefferson. So I like that a lot. I think that's something that we're going to see moving forward, is seeing him in maybe a few different roles, either wide receiver, quarterback. I think they can really benefit from a player like him. And a lot of fans were like, hey, are we going to see him play, as quarterback or wide receiver? I think the answer is yes. And we saw that in practice yesterday. And one thing that stood out to me as well about these guys, and they said it in their interviews yesterday, is that they're just so hungry for football. It just feels like there's such an energy around it. And our anchors were joking with me last night, Courtney, football in March? Yes, football in March. The excitement is now around this program. I mean, you can feel it in the air here. There is excitement around what next football season will look like, and they're not shying away from good competition. We've seen the schedule. We've seen the teams that are on it. I mean, it's going to be tough for these guys, but they're getting ready. That's why there's so much energy in spring practice now. Sam Pittman knows, hey, these guys have to be conditioned. They have to be ready for the type of fight that they're going to face in this fall. So I'm excited. I cannot wait for football season. Hey, but we can't get ahead of myself. I know I say that with you guys, but baseball is going to be exciting too. Softball's on a roll right now as well. I mean, look, sports at Arkansas, it's a great time, like I just said, to be covering Hog sports because it's just all so good. And you're right. Normally, baseball would be the thing everyone's most hopeful for. It's the immediate thing. It's right in front of you. But I'm not sure that the most optimism centers around the baseball program right now that's been, as elite as any program on that campus with maybe the exception of track. I'm not so sure that there's not more hope about the future with basketball or football right now than there is currently about baseball. So it's kind of an interesting time and an unusual time where all three are going very well at Arkansas currently. Yeah, and I was talking to a fan the other day that said, I can't remember the last time that we were actually excited about football in March, and I can't remember the last time that we were, still talking about basketball even after the season is over. These are just things that fans are saying. So you can imagine me being like, well, I don't remember that time, but I'm excited to be here now.
Thanks for joining us for the first time. Great visit, and we look forward to catching up with you more in the future.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, Courtney Mims, Pig Trail Nation, joining us here on the morning.
Finally here, the top teams in college basketball have been determined, and the Final Four is set. Looking to wager on these games or the national championship? Head over to betonline.ag on your desktop or your mobile device and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get started. That's BLEAV. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all your updated odds and info, along with player props and new contests throughout the year. It's the best source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and everyone's favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.